how exactly do you find a Roman road? We spend a lot of time looking for Roman roads, so we think we're pretty good at it, but we're not historians or academics. So I guess this video we put together for you so you can learn exactly how we do it, what resources, and then you can maybe show off to your friends, to your children, to your grandparents, to your...
Whoa. Let's just get on with the video.
Welcome to the story of Route 155, how to find a Roman road. So the first thing you can do is go and buy yourself an OS map. They actually do a Roman road specific one, but if that's a bit out of your budget, then just go and look at one of the old ones you may have in your collection, because they also contain all the known Roman roads up to the point of publication. Now we did that with a Roman road which is called 155, headed from Chichester up to Silchester. Now your assumption might be that Roman roads are exact straight lines between two settlements. That's not often the case. Now this is Route 155 as prescribed by Ivan Margary, and it looks a bit more like this. Now we've missed the very bottom of this route today, Chichester to the South Downs, with a view to showing you instead some more interesting aspects. Let's head to the first issue of the day. This is where the Roman road should come if it went in a straight line. We're pretty confident it didn't go in a straight line, but we do want to show you a couple of fascinating little bits about this church. Who doesn't love a good church? So many little fascinations about this church, including some, I mean, what are they, Rebecca? They're like...
They are. They've got to be gravestones of some
gravestones,
but they're metal and they're so unusual.
Really
I've never seen them before.
No, absolutely. Didn't know we were expecting that. What we did know we were expecting, however, is this down here in front of us. Now that is supposedly one of the oldest gravestones you'll see. It's a Knights Templar.
From the Crusades.
From the Crusades. That shows you and gives you an idea of how old, not necessarily how old the church is, but certainly that this was a place of worship or a burial ground. But there's one more thing to show you, a bit of a quirky story. We always love finding the yew trees, the indication of an ancient route or an old routeway, but also often found in churchyards. Now a little while back there was talk of trimming some of this yew tree back, and they got some contractors out and said, right, can you just take a bit off of this side because the branches are going to end up in the church and damage it. Now they sent the contractors out, and a little bit lost in translation because the contractor started chopping away at the tree itself. Now this is probably over 800 years old, 1,000 years old perhaps, and he started chopping down the tree. Thankfully a local farmer saw what he was doing and rescued it just in time. Not religious in any way, shape or form, but always appreciate a good church. Gorgeous little pews. I think if you're short on seats, you can pull those out and stick someone else on the end. Beautiful church. Now I've left Rebecca down there doing a few more shots of the church, and I've come to possibly one of the highest points of today's journey. To our north we have the remainder of today's journey, and to our south we have Chichester. Chichester's probably about 6 or 7 miles in that direction. There's not a lot to see, so we're going to start our journey here on the northern ridge of the South Downs, and what a spectacular view ahead of us. And of course the first question of today is how the Romans themselves got down this huge ridge just here. And that is probably the key to the first direction change. Here is the route as prescribed by OS maps, and we have a gap. Zoom in again and we can see the contours and a steep drop to the north. The Romans would use the longest part of a slope down to minimise the impact of the steep hill. So using the map we can find the gap and therefore a Roman terrace. So a terrace being a pathway created into a hill or a routeway which allowed for slow gradient climb or incline to help navigate your way down a steep slope. So once you've found your Roman road that you want to explore, maybe near your house or maybe somewhere where you're going on holiday or whatever, then you've got step number 2, a little bit of research onto that. What can you find and what are you looking for? So if you have time on your hands, one thing I would recommend doing is having a look at some of the antiquarians. So you've got the likes of John Leland, Richard Colt Hoare, you've got William Camden, and you've got Ivan Margary. Now, they all went around the countryside documenting old stuff that they could find, and a lot of them talked about Roman roads. But the issue with this one, the issue with Roman Road 155, is that it wasn't discovered until 1949. Bit of a curiosity. So really the only antiquarian you've got for reference is this dude here. So we found Ipping Common. Now Ipping Common is one of the places where we picked out on the map, the OS map, where you should be able to see a bit of the Roman road. So we'll come to our next point. Now Ivan Margary said a lot, 3 pages worth about this route. So there is a lot you can glean from that, and the way that Margary and the antiquarians tie in with the OS maps is OS will always cite the likes of Ivan Margary when they're claiming that this is a Roman road. But in the meantime, let's see if we can find a good example to show you on the ground what you're looking for. This is Ipping Common and it's quite marshy, but this probably gives us our first clue. Now we're not going to show you as yet an agger, and when I say agger, well, what is an agger? An agger is the road itself, normally raised up a little bit or quite a lot in some examples. Now people see a Roman road often as a paved way, your classic images of the inner towns and cities of Roman life where it was all properly paved, hard standing stones for your horse and cart, but that isn't the case 99 times out of 100 in this country. At least you're just going to find a Roman road is made out of whatever resources they had around, and it would be hardcore broken stones, broken flints to build the base. Then they'd sprinkle or put in finer layers of dirt and that to bulk it out, and then more layers on top of that just to give it a hard standing above. Now that's probably what we see here on the route back there. It just looks like a pathway, but either side of that is quite marshy, but the pathway isn't. It's very hard. I'd imagine it's sunken a little bit, but again, I wouldn't spot that if I didn't know it was already there. Well, I think we've been rather fortunate, just another 100 yards or so further south, and I've found what I think is a really good example where they've cut through a hill and maintained an agger. So immediately ahead of me there sits a curved ridge which would have formed the middle of the Roman road. That's a great example. Speaking of that very agger, you never really get a sense of how well it comes out on camera, but I'm in a bit of what I guess has been cut out of the agger here. So if you look at the top where the heather is just there, well, that would be the peak of the road, and right down here in the ditch it looks like someone's cut perpendicular into it. Maybe they have to do some excavation work here, but if you dug into there you'd find various layers of Roman road. To give you an idea of the height, Rebecca, do you want to give us a wave? Now we've stopped very briefly on the straight line route that is from back there. Now there is a deviation coming up, but before we get to that deviation, we found a Roman posting station, a Roman mansio on some old maps, hence the name of the word mansion. And in the field just there you've got some earthworks which mark the boundary of that Roman posting station, whether that's a stop where you would stay overnight and there would be facilities of all kinds. Perhaps that's the first one that's furthest north of Chichester. And again in this field here there's some really good markings in there. You can see from the colour of the flower and part of the grass where they stand out quite well. Parked up at a chapel up at the top, and our journey from the chapel down to Milland is really quite different. We're just finding random holloways and the weirdest set of steps you've seen, purpose built quite some time ago, and now we just get stumbled upon another little holloway. It's really beautiful. And there's a metal detectorist just up there. Let's go say hello.
Yeah, I'll live in this.
We found a man. We found a man. This man just found a Louis the 16th coin, French Revolution coin, and I cannot work out why it's here in southern England.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful. So we said that's all boring. Let's talk about Roman roads, and this man knows about the local Roman road.
It goes across, it cuts off, and it goes at Gretham near Walmer Pond.
Yeah.
But how it gets from the land to here,
that's it, isn't it?
It
So
either goes down that road, or we believe it's a track that goes round.
So you think it went from Rebecca? You know that?
Yes, I do.
Talk to my son. He is.
Okay, so we did talk to the son, who didn't want to be on camera, but he did have a theory about how this deviation looked in Roman times. Once again, we have a ridge and we have evidence of the road to the north and to the south, but nothing in the middle. So these guys were trying to find out which route the Roman road took using their skills, which was metal detecting. Now, the common theory is it went to the right. In fact, the OS suggests it goes to the right up the road that's there now. These guys, though, they suggested that perhaps it went to the west. There's a couple of really good looking holloways which we decided to explore and test out their theory. Could be this route here, but also he pointed out, which we would have never have known, that route there. So we're going to follow this down the hill, and you'll see on a pathway that it follows the route down back onto the main alignment down to Millen. Top tip: how to find a Roman road, speak to locals, because when it gets to bits like this where nobody really knows, speak to a local and you find out. And if those guys find any coins or any Roman bits, well, then it's almost certain. And he said it's definitely this one in his mind.
In his mind.
If you want to trace a Roman road from the comfort of your own home, a good way to do that would be to use the Lidar. So Lidar removes things like vegetation and other stuff and just gives you the lay of the land. You can get it via the Environment Agency, or a lot of spin-off sites use it from them as well. Now, the interesting point about the Lidar is there's a section just across the road from the chapel we were just at where you can see the Roman road clearly and the Agger we talked about earlier. And while we know where the Roman road down at the bottom by Milan should reach that section at the top of this hill, and we just can't bridge the gap. Here we are in Chapel Common, and referring back to the maps from earlier, and of course the Lidar, well, this shows a clear lump of the Roman road about to cross us any second now, here somewhere, but I can't see anything, which is odd, because you look at the Lidar and you can see it, which is why the Lidar is so useful. Right here, Rebecca. Yeah, this is the beauty of Lidar. This is the beauty of the next thing that we were going to show you, which is a Lidar, how to find a Roman road, because look at that. That is a sea of bracken, and you would never stand here on the ground today and say, oh yeah, there's a Roman road just there, because you're never going to see it. You could look, as Rebecca just said, on the floor there and find some lumps and bumps, but it's not really helpful when you haven't got much context. Same again that way. That's why Lidar is on our list of essentials for finding a Roman road.
Cool.
So you've identified your Roman road, you've found one on a map, it's local to you. You now want to go and find it, have a look on the ground. You know how to find it because we've told you what an Agger looks like, the raised bit in the middle. We've told you what a terrace looks like. We've told you how to use the Lidar to find it. So what else could you do? I would highly recommend signing up to the Roman Road Research Association. Now, it's only about 12 or 14 pounds a year, but you get a huge access to All kinds of records you can imagine, anything pertaining to a Roman road you might be interested in is on there. And above all, one of the most interesting things is the records they keep of OS, Ordnance Survey, and their original justification for plotting Roman roads on their OS maps. And you can piece it together yourself. And the thing we love the most about the Roman roads is there's still a lot of unknowns, so you can do a lot of digging yourself and come up with some conjecture about what you think. You're not getting historians and academics with me and Rebecca, but you're getting people that do a bit of research and have a bit of a guess of where things went. Is that right? Is that fair to say?
I think that's pretty fair to say, yep.
Wicked. This is a long field, isn't it?
It's a very long field, it seems to last forever.
Right, so we are just a stone's throw away from Neatham, which is Alton, which is about 3 miles in that direction. There's not a great deal to see, but there was a Roman town there. And onwards then the route goes up to Silchester in almost an exact straight line with no more deviations or excitement to see. So from Rebecca and I, thanks for watching.
Thank you very
Hopefully
much.
this has been of help to you. If it has, pop a comment in the description below, the comments below.
Yeah.
Because we'd love to know what Roman roads you have near you. Are there bits you can see? What have you found out? What have you learned from this video?
Are there any mysteries that you would like to find out?
That's
That'd be
what we
great.
love.
Yeah.
See you this time next week.